Hi, welcome to Meet the Candidate. I'm Dee Dee Carney, and my guest today is Kandie Smith, who's running for North Carolina House, District 8.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome, Ms. Smith.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Good. So, North Carolina House, District 8.
Yes, ma'am.
Something new, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
I mean, completely new. The whole district is new, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, how did it even come to be? I mean, where is District 8, number 1?
Okay. Well, District 8 is the northern part of Pitt County.
Okay.
And I did bring some maps. I know the people who are watching may not be able to see, but just to give you a visual idea.
Okay.
We are looking at Belvoir,
Mm-hmm.
Bethel,
Mm-hmm.
Falkland,
Mm-hmm.
Fountain, Arthur, and Farmville.
Okay.
And then the northern part of the city of Greenville. So the district that I currently represent, District 1,
Okay.
and portions of District 2 that's represented currently by Councilmember Rose Glover, they're all included within District 8. So
Okay.
if you look at Pitt County, it's really divided into 3 different sections. District 8 is one section, District 9 is another section, and that's by Representative Greg Murphy, currently represents that district. And then the very, very bottom part is District 12, a small portion of it. So with District 8, it has been newly drawn.
Mm-hmm.
And so portions of it belong to Susan Martin, and portions of it belong to Representative Jean Farmer Butterfield. So when they redrew the maps, it now encompasses nothing of Wilson like it did with District 24. So it's all of northern Pitt County.
Okay.
And there's no one currently sitting in that seat because it's a newly drawn district, so there's no incumbent.
Okay, great. So, new district, new beginning. Good time for new candidate, I guess.
I think so.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a change from your city government involvement.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe, what will be different for you, how you will tackle it differently, or?
Okay, one thing I would say that will be different is the broader coverage, the broader range. The other areas, the outerlying areas that I've not focused on before, because within the city of Greenville, being the past mayor, I was able to focus on the city as a whole. But now we're looking at Farmville and Bethel and other areas. So I have to spend time researching and finding out their issues, finding out what's near and dear to their heart, what are things that they're looking for, what things they'd like to be different. One thing I know is not different is my accessibility. I'm still going to be accessible. I still make sure that I give my number out, I respond, I talk to people. I still want to make sure that I'm of the people, by the people, and for the people. But there's going to be a larger area to cover, and I'm going to work on that. I'm taking time, and I'm studying it right now just to make sure that I learn different issues. And I'm going to be having some town hall meetings in each of those areas to allow the citizens to get to know me and ask me questions, and then tell me, what do you feel like we need when it comes to the state level?
Okay. So the town hall meetings, for those that might be looking at this, can people contact you and say, I want a town hall meeting in my area?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I have a city liaison
Okay.
on my campaign team, and her job is to make sure that she's making contacts with people in each of those areas, and within those areas, setting up that town hall meeting and inviting as many people as possible and getting the word out. And I always encourage people to go to my webpage. Well, social media, I have Kandie Smith for NC House 8, and they could always go there. And
is that on Facebook?
on Facebook,
Okay.
they're going to be listed, and also on my website, I'll make sure I post those there as well, and that's www.kandiesmith.com.
Okay, all right. And you mentioned when you were mayor, I guess that does help with the broadening of your scope.
Yes.
From just being a city council member in one district. Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay.
Yes, and plus, I was being the mayor. I was the mayor for 5 months. I had some experiences that I didn't really expect to happen.
Right.
So I had a chance to go to Raleigh and lobby the representatives there for money for our Town Creek Culvert.
Oh, good.
And with that process, this is the largest project that the city of Greenville has, which is a $33 million project. And so being able to lobby and look for funding, this is a green project as well, so it qualified very differently. And total now, because of that, and we just had the latest meeting to allocate the funds, and I can say we successfully saved the city $9 million.
Wow.
So I'm very proud of that.
Yes.
And I'm just waiting on one more, because I also went to the federal level, went to DC and lobbied as well, our House and our Congress. And if everything goes through there, that's another $8 million.
Wow.
So actually that will be the largest amount that any mayor has brought in during their time period, and I was only there for 5 months.
Right. Okay.
So that gave me a broader spectrum to be able to look at things. And I've spent time in Raleigh often, lobbying with my sorority Delta Days. We go every year, so I've had a chance to go there and meet a lot of the representatives and senators and talk with them on a regular basis. As long as I've been on the city council for 8 years, we go, National League of Cities, we have meetings there as well. And I attend all of those because I always try to expand any knowledge that I have.
Okay. Speaking of National League of Cities, how involved are you with them?
Well, I've been involved with them since I've been on the council. The very first year, I didn't attend because I didn't really know what it was about.
What is it about?
Well, National League of Cities, it has not every city within the U.S. that's involved, but we have many cities that are involved. I don't know, 300-400 cities that are involved, probably maybe 800, I think. I'm looking at the wrong number.
Would you say it's the more progressive cities, or is that who gets involved?
Well,
or?
definitely have the larger cities.
Okay, the larger.
But what it is we come together and we have someone who's a voice for us, for the state of North Carolina. So when we want certain things done, we need lobbying, then they're our front voice.
Okay.
They go out and say those things that we need. So when CDBG funds were on the possible chopping block, then all of us got together as cities, and we agreed it didn't matter which city you were. We did not want those to be cut. That affects our sidewalks, that affects a lot of different things in the city that people don't even realize.
Affordable housing.
Oh, definitely with affordable housing. And so with that, we were successful at not getting it cut like it was first proposed. So it's a wonderful opportunity for them to come together. And I am the regional representative for North Carolina. And that means I have to try to recruit other cities that are not a part of the National League of Cities in order to be a part, so that they can understand the collective voice and how powerful it is. Because a smaller city alone is not going to have the same type of advocacy as it is when you have all of the cities together. So that's my job as a representative for North Carolina. And then I'm also on the Crime and Public Safety Commission. This is my second year being appointed to that, which is a national commission, and we look at a lot of the issues that we are taking to the representatives to say, and this is, we take it to them on the federal level and say we want, if it's gun control, whatever those issues are, opioid epidemic, which is big, and we take those to them. And then for my first year, I just got appointed to the REAL Council. That's Race, Equity, and Leadership Council. And so our meeting is, I leave this weekend, so I'll be attending that in DC, and meeting both with REAL and Crime and Public Safety. Learning as much as I can.
Wonderful. Well, you also mentioned Delta Days. I know that when you go to those lobbying events, that there's a group of people that go that are just sort of there to learn, and they're very quiet. They don't really engage with the legislators or that sort of thing. And then there's maybe leaders in the group that will be on the forefront of asking the questions and digging deep on the issues. Which one of those are you?
I would say both.
Okay.
Because I started in the background.
Okay.
Not knowing really what to do and what to expect. I started in the background, and I listened and I learned. And now I am a leader. So when I was first asked, we're going to ask you to speak up to this representative and that representative, then I had to be the one to go in and provide the questions. And then, you know, if anybody else had questions, they came up from there. I was nervous, but now that I've done that and continue to do that, that nervousness, of course, is passed, but I can pass down information to other people. So I could just say both.
Okay.
Got to have a beginning in order to get comfortable.
That's right. That's right. And on the issue using the culvert, what do you call it?
Town Creek Culvert.
Yeah, Town Creek Culvert. as an example of an issue that affects a lot of people
Yes.
in the city, and then there will be many issues like that that come up in the state. You know, I think it's hard for sometimes the average citizen to understand how these issues affect them.
Right.
How do you, what's your way of trying to get more people engaged to understand what some of the decisions are that are being made for them?
Well, first, if I just start with the city level, I've been trying to encourage people to get on boards and commissions because many decisions are made there. And then the recommendations are given to us on the council, and then we make a decision. So by the time it comes to the council, many things have already been vetted. And I've heard people come to me and say, I had no idea. And I'm like, that's why I've been trying to get you to get involved early on.
So would there be boards and commissions on the state level too that you could be advocating for?
Well, that's part I'm not sure about yet, other people getting involved on those. But I know that people lobby all the time.
Okay.
And so if they're lobbying for education, they come up and they meet with the representatives from the House and the Senate side. They let them know where they stand on issues, why they stand a certain way, so they can still always be involved and lobby towards the issues that are passionate to them.
Okay.
I know that as a representative, then each representative, they're placed on different boards that they have to be a part of.
Okay.
And during those boards, whether it be something with mental health, something with education, agriculture, whatever, they're placed on those boards, and then they have to go and learn everything about it and advocate for policies that's going to affect our state, and prayerfully in a positive way.
Right.
And so I think that first thing is many people don't quite know the difference between municipal level and the state level.
Correct.
So one of the things I did was kind of looked up the duties so I can make sure I share with people. For a representative, their job is to make sure we vote on bills that represent the interests of the people who live in our voting district. And I've named all those areas that I would represent. And then we create new laws and modify or update the old laws and serve on research committees. And that's what they would be for a representative.
Okay.
And within that legislative branch. And then we also uphold the state's constitution, and we vote on changes to the constitution when there are certain amendments that may be needed. And then we address issues such as education, transportation, commerce, state taxes, and any other item that might be a concern to local residents.
Okay.
And I think roads would be big if you think about here within the city of Greenville, and within the northern Pitt County area. I've heard a lot of complaints about our roads, especially since we've had that pretty big snow for this area.
Right.
They were bad before, and oh my gosh, they're worse now.
Right.
And so many times they ask the city, how come you guys can't do anything? But if it's a state road, it's mandated by the state. So DOT, Department of Transportation, has to come down and do certain things or approve us to do certain things. So that's a big thing because infrastructure, that's a very big thing.
Right.
And we have direction over where the money goes.
Right.
And so as a representative, that's one of the things that I want to make sure that I'm passionate about, because I look at 3 platform issues. Economic development. And if your infrastructure is torn up, how are you going to attract any company to come in?
Right.
So economic development is one. Education is another. Mental health. We see with all the recent things in the news, mental health should be on the forefront. It used to be.
Right.
And it's been pushed on the back burner, and we've had so many unfortunate situations.
Right.
And then criminal justice reform. So those are the top priorities that's on my platform.
Okay. Okay. Good. So I guess each one of those could be another show almost. So I won't even ask you to elaborate too much on that. But
that's why I tell people go to the forums and learn
good.
about every candidate.
Speaking of forums, I know there have been some announced and some coming up. You sound like you might be a little busy in the next little bit.
Yes, it is so many forums. The ones that come up right now is like every Thursday, there's going to be a forum at Epps Gym.
Okay.
And they're breaking those down for the candidates.
Okay.
And they start with the DA candidates, and then the next forum will be for the sheriff candidates, and then the following forum will be for the House District 8 candidates. So they're every Thursday at Epps Gym. So from 5:30 to 6:30 is where they have the social time. You can interact with the candidates, meet them, talk to them, ask them questions, so you can personally get a feel for them.
Right.
And then from 6:30 to like 8 is when they have the forum.
Okay.
And then that's where you might write your questions down and pass it up to the moderator to make sure that they read those questions. So those are coming up, and just every Thursday. As a matter of fact, one tonight.
Okay.
So I encourage people, if you don't get out and get to meet your candidates, you won't know.
Right.
And I often like to go to people where they are, because they need to know who you are.
Right. Right. Well, good idea. So again, if there's a neighborhood or a homeowners association that wants you to come
I
and
go.
speak, okay, that's in
As
your
long
district.
as long as it's not conflicting with maybe a council
Something.
meeting or something of that nature, I go.
Okay.
So I have been attending neighborhood association meetings. I've been attending meetings for the volunteer fire departments in some of the more rural areas.
Okay.
Whatever event that may be happening that I can go to, so people can get a chance to have that one-on-one time and get to see me
Right.
instead of watching someone on TV and not knowing them.
Right.
That's what I try to attend. And if there's anything that anybody would like for me to attend, I always ask them to please reach out to me. If you go to the city website, my information is public, and they can always contact me, email me. And I've had people now, I'm learning Facebook, they send through that private messenger, and they send messages that way. And they can always do that as well as on my webpage, and just let me know if there's any questions, concerns, or any place they would want me to check my schedule
Okay.
and try to attend.
And if I'm the average citizen out there that doesn't go to city council meetings and don't really know you that well, can I look to see what your voting record is on certain issues?
Yes, like all of the city council meetings are not only listed with the minutes online,
Oh, okay. Good.
but they are also with video.
Okay.
So you can go back and watch all of the council meetings.
Okay.
So if you go and look at the notes and you want to know about how I stood on a certain vote, if you look on the minutes, because they're all typed up as well, it kind of tells you a certain timeline, and you can go and look at that and see the actual vote.
Okay.
So I encourage people, make sure you research all of your candidates.
Right.
I think that's important. And I've been asked the question, what makes you a good candidate? And of course, I'm speaking from my personal feeling, and of course, everybody should be a strong advocate of themselves. I have been on the city council for 8 years. I don't call myself a politician, although many people do. I call myself an advocate. I spend a lot of time working for the people of the community. I'm of the people, by the people, and for the people. I make sure that I listen to issues and concerns. I don't promise to be able to fix everything, because that's a promise that you should never make. And I try not to just make promises.
Right.
I like to rather listen to your concern and see how I can connect the resources.
Okay.
I'm very passionate about the community, and I'm very passionate about people. I want to make sure that issues are heard. Whether I can do anything immediately or not, I like to make sure people are heard. And when you don't feel like you're heard, that's an issue within itself.
Right.
And some of the things I do tell people is, it's important for you to know whether it's moving up to the next level. I still work for you.
Right.
As long as you are electing anybody in position, they work for the people.
Right.
So it's not that you go to Raleigh to represent yourself. You have to represent the people. So if the people say this is what we want, that's what I'm supposed to do. I will be a passionate voice. I've been told that I'm a pit bull. And I just kind of, I think I ran across that by mistake. I said, what do you mean? They said, they know. If it's an issue, you're going to get on it, and you ain't going to let it go until you find answers. And then I was like, wow. It's amazing when you find how other people perceive you.
Right.
So I'm very passionate.
Okay.
I don't hold back on much.
Okay. And if you're not the one to solve every problem or to promise that you're going to solve every problem, you at least can guide them in the right
I direct
direction.
them to the resources.
Right.
That's what
Okay.
it's not about me solving every problem. A
Right.
representative is not to solve all problems.
Right.
A representative is
agree.
like my focus has been. I like to focus on solutions.
Right.
So with me focusing on solutions, I make sure that I direct people
Okay.
to the right path.
Okay.
And it may be I have to contact this staff or that staff and say, this is the issue.
Right.
How can we remedy this? And then make sure I'm CC'd and kept abreast of where we are with the progress.
Right. Okay. Good. I know education is one of your platforms. Are you familiar with our educational system?
Just a tad.
Okay.
So much so that I spend time almost when I'm in Greenville, at least every week.
Okay.
in schools.
Good.
And people ask me, what schools do you go to? All of them.
Yeah.
There's probably been maybe 2 schools within Pitt County that I've not been to.
Okay.
And why have I been in the schools? I substitute
Okay.
in the schools. I like to be around the kids because they give me a lot of information, but I also like to be around the teachers.
Right.
I like to experience what they experience and find out those issues and those concerns, because you hear about it,
Right.
but to see it and experience it is completely different.
Right.
And so they often come to me and say, let me share with you some of the challenges. Do you see this and do you see that? And in seeing it and experiencing it, I'm sometimes overwhelmed.
Right. I can imagine.
Oh my gosh.
I think then it kind of drifts into the mental health segment that is also
Right.
a platform, right?
Right.
Okay. Early voting and the importance of voting. I mean, it seems like we talk about this every time, but
I don't think we can talk about it enough.
I know.
Early voting, that starts on April the 19th, and it will go through April the 28th.
Okay.
So anytime between April the 19th and April the 28th, I encourage people to make sure that they go and vote, so they don't have to wait until the election day.
Right.
And the primary day is on May 8th, and there are going to be possibly lines, and people have to wait. If you go all during that early voting period, you can avoid those long lines.
Right.
And we want to make sure that people are registered.
Right.
I have registration forms on me.
Okay.
So I tell people, if you see me, say, Ms. Smith, can I get a form?
Okay.
And I'll be glad to give you that form and turn it in for you.
Okay.
So I've been registering people wherever I go,
Good.
whether it's in the schools, whether it's in the streets. That's important.
Right.
We have a large population, but we don't have many people to vote because this is considered an off-election year. And when you have the election for the presidents, it draws most of the voters.
Right.
So we need to make sure that people understand the election for this primary affects you as well, because these are going to be your representatives on the state level. So when we look at the money that's being pushed towards northern Pitt County, you need strong voices.
Right.
And we may have some now, but we need more because we don't want to be forgotten in eastern North Carolina.
Right.
And that's a major thing for me. We got to make sure that we have people who are very persistent and willing to do as much research and learn the issues, and then learn how to author a bill, and then how to carry that forth, the entire process of it. And I'm always willing to learn, and I'm ready.
Speaking of which, the demographics of your District 8, is it a wealthy district, would you say, or well-to-do?
You know what? I think after just going through my entire district, I would not say that it is that wealthy.
Okay.
You know, in eastern North Carolina, we have a lot of rural areas.
Right.
And with rural areas, they don't have as much money
Right.
as some of the larger areas.
Right.
And that's why it's important to make sure that we still have a strong voice.
Right.
Because many times it's those that have the majority of the funds, they have a stronger voice because they feel like, most people feel like they have a seat at the table.
Right.
Well, whether we have a lot of funds or not, I still feel like we should have a seat at the table.
Right.
So it's not a very wealthy district,
Okay.
but it's a very important district
Right.
because each individual is important.
Right.
And we don't want to exclude someone because of class
Right.
or because of race
Right.
or ethnicity.
Or
and so
income.
I think, or income.
Right.
That's why I said the class, social
Right.
class.
Right.
I just think that everybody should be included because everybody is somebody.
Okay, very good. We were talking about early voting and registering to vote. Why do you think, what are you hearing when you're out and about, why people
You don't wanna know.
don't vote or don't register? And what can we do about that?
What we can do about it first is pray.
Yes.
The second thing is we got to be consistent and persistent. We have to continue with that message. I've heard excuses like, I don't do that, it's going to put me in the system. And I'm not quite sure what they're talking about. I've heard
Okay.
people say, well, they're going to call me up to do jury duty, so I don't do it
Yeah.
because of jury duty.
Yeah.
It's just so many different excuses, which,
Yeah.
or I've heard people say, it ain't been good to me.
Or your vote's not going to count. I think
Yeah,
most people, and
I've heard that, but I've heard the last one, I've heard someone say, well, it hadn't been good to me. And then they admit it. But I brought it on myself. So then that's when I go back and say, well, that's why we need to make sure that you have people who think like you,
Right.
people who you can talk to, you have access to. Because if you do have issues or concerns, then you can come to me.
Right.
But it's hard to have people to come to you and they're not even voting.
Right.
They're not even sharing how they feel. Whether the person that you like decides to or is a winner or not in that situation, you still need to have a voice.
Right.
But is it important to vote? Yes. Every vote counts.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because when I won the first time, I won by only 12 votes when I got onto the city council.
Right.
But just recently, in the city of Winterville, one vote,
That's right.
one vote
That's
determined that election.
So everybody that says my vote doesn't count
Every vote counts.
Right.
And I'm going to encourage everyone
Right.
because I need their support. And I am ready, I'm willing, and I'm eager to go and support and be their representative. But I cannot do it without them.
Right.
We're all in this together.
And the early voting excuses, I mean, they kind of range, you know, oh, I'm
I got
used to
something to
doing
do.
it
Yeah.
On election day.
Yeah.
But then election day, they get to the polls, the line is long,
Yes.
the weather is bad, and they go, oh, I'm going home.
Or they didn't change their address because they moved and they
Right.
forgot. They say, I'm registered, but
Right.
I moved. And,
Right.
and you know,
And
you need
that's
to have
not-
your address the same as,
And that's
it's
just
a
not the
challenge.
time to be running into problems.
Right.
So the best thing is
because
early
more than
voting.
likely you're going to do what? Leave and not go back.
Exactly. And you don't have time at the last day.
Right.
So yes, we need to encourage everyone. Can we deputize everybody out there to take on early voting and challenge
I
people?
deputize and challenge everybody to take at least 10 people.
Good.
Because most time people don't even realize it's their own family.
Right. Right.
And once I've worked with individuals to help them get registered, and then I pick people up a lot of times and take them to the polls.
Yeah.
When they come out, they have a sense of pride, like, oh my gosh, I feel good.
Right.
Because I voted.
Right. And they got that little sticker.
Right, and because they wear their sticker and they just feel a sense of pride.
Right.
So I just helped register some people the other day, and when I came back, they said, I got my registration card in the mail. Oh, it felt so good.
Right.
And that's what I want to do, is give people a sense of pride.
Good. Good. Speaking of families, is it a good time to take your children to vote?
Excellent time, because your kids need to see what you do and what's happening.
Right.
And it's not an intimidating process.
Right.
So I just remember ever since I became a voting age, I went with, even before I went with my mother, but then I always see younger kids sometimes going in so they can see, because they want to know what's happening.
Right.
So once you can register. You don't have to wait until you're 18.
Right.
You can register early.
Okay.
And by the time you turn 18, if it's primaries on May 8th, and if your birthday will be, right before May 8th, you can go ahead and register now.
Okay.
And you can still vote.
Right.
And if it's not then we have the general elections in November. Then you'll still be able to vote by then.
Right.
So I'm everybody,
Good.
take some kids, mentor them.
Yeah. Well, speaking of registering early, I know we have a friend's daughter who organized a voter registration at her high school several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a wonderful thing to do. So any high schools out there that want to take that on, it's a great
Right.
time of the year to do that.
And we may have to have different organizations to go into the high schools to register, especially at the high schools during lunchtime.
Mm-hmm.
That's a prime time. Kids are walking around, floating around, and we can just ask, and hey, you registered?
Right.
You want to register? And I didn't think I was old enough yet. How old are you? 17. Great.
Right.
You can register.
Right.
And when you turn 18, they'll make sure they send you your card.
Yep.
And you don't have to worry about going back, because people forget sometimes.
Good.
So
Okay.
I'm excited about this campaign. I'm excited about this race. I'm excited about the new district being drawn, to make sure that we have the constituents who live here to be represented.
Right.
And I'm very proud to be a candidate running during this election. I applaud anybody who gives their life for service, because that's what it is. It's not the glamour that many people think. It's a lot of meetings and a lot of behind the scenes work that people don't know.
Right.
But it's something that I've been passionate about, and that's helping people and advocating for people.
Right.
So I encourage people to please do your research, look me up, call me if you have questions,
Okay.
ask me. 565-4617. I give it out on a regular basis.
Okay.
And you can also look on the city website and get my number and just call me. And if you have questions, you have issues, talk to me.
And can they email you?
They can also email me.
Okay.
They can email me several ways. They're doing these emails now. The message, again, like I said, on Facebook, on my page that I'm running, on my city council page,
Okay.
And they do it on my personal page on Facebook.
Okay.
They can also email me. My city email is candiesmith@greenvillenc.gov.
Okay.
And then my personal email for the campaign is kandiedsmith@gmail.com.
Okay.
So there's so many different ways to contact me.
Great.
And I'm ready.
Okay, good. Well, I know you're very approachable, and I think that the job that you do whenever you're serving the public in this capacity is more than just being a friendly face. You're a good connector of resources, and I applaud you for that, and working as hard as you have in the past, and I know you'll continue to do that on a good track. So we thank you so much for joining us today, Ms. Kandie Smith.
Thank you for having me.
Running for NC House, District 8.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.